Okay, and we're live. Today, I'm going to talk about the latest updates to Descript, and there's some big ones this week. They rolled out version 90, so if you haven't updated your software yet, highly recommend that you go do that. And then along with that, if you go into your settings, you find a section that says Labs, and then turn on the latest, what do they call it here? Down here, it's the new editor layout and underlord. So go ahead and activate that. And when you do, your properties bar looks different like this. And I'm going to turn this, oops, hang on, let me go back to that. I'm going to change this to light mode so that I can see it a little better. Theme, light mode. Okay. This is probably what more people are familiar with. So until you do that thing, the activate the labs and then the underlord, you won't have this. But even before that, you will have this new look. So there's a giant upload a file button right there. There's start writing, record, or browse templates. So just a more intuitive user interface. It's just more like tells you exactly what it does, and it's right in front of you. And then they also got rid of that untitled. It used to be your untitled composition name was right here, taking up space on the transcript. They have moved that here. And so we can just rename it here, and I can call this like Friday Q&A, for example. Oops, Friday. And then that's how you rename it. And it's out of the way, so you have more space in your transcript. Now up here, you have some different layout settings. So you got your side-by-side, which is what we're used to. It's always been like that. And then there's now stacked, where you can put the canvas up on top. So you got more space there, and then your transcript down below. That can get a little cluttered once you add things and you have your timeline opened up, but it's an option, and that's very cool. One thing I'm really rooting for Descript to add is the ability to pop out the canvas into a separate window, because personally I use 2 different monitors. So it'd be really nice to have the canvas on one screen and then the timeline and transcript on another, but we're not there yet. And then there's canvas only, which just expands the entire canvas to fill your entire screen. This is good when you're doing your last pass. You've done all of your edits and you're just checking it to make sure that the visual component is all exactly how you expect it to be. So with that, there's a couple other changes that came out with the version. There's some differences with the recording. Before, well, first of all, you notice it opens up on the right side. It used to be on the top, along with those buttons that were up here. The record button was right there in the middle. Now it is on the side. And there used to be a little arrow right here where you could choose record into script or record new layer. Now it's just one record button, and it has smart detection. So it'll, if you don't have anything selected, it'll automatically record into your script. If you have a particular scene selected, it'll record as a new layer in that scene. And if you have a specific portion of your transcript or timeline selected, it'll do the record over selected portion, that the functionality that used to be record over selection. So now it's just one button, and it'll automatically detect that. So, and that can be a little confusing if you're, I did a video about this a couple of days ago, and it took me a moment to figure out how exactly to work that. But everything else is the same there as far as like setting your microphone, setting your camera, all that stuff. There are what they call layouts now. This is brand new. It used to be templates. So you have your templates that are in your drive, templates that are private, and templates that are the gallery, aka Descript's pre-made templates. So those are now accessed from the layout button. And then you could save a layout. So if you have something made in your project already, you could just click save and it would do that. You can do copy the selected scene, which this doesn't make much sense yet because it's just a blank scene. But if I had a certain style of caption or a certain layout property, I could copy that. I could select a different scene here on my scene thumbnails on the left, and I could hit paste, and it would paste the properties from that original scene into the one that into the target scene. Or I could hit reset, and that would just reset all the layout properties to the default. So again, I think I'm a big fan of all these changes. I think it makes everything much clearer, more user-friendly. There's a couple nuances to it. Obviously, like the name Underlord is like a weird choice of naming, but it is what it is. And then the media. So the media bin used to have all of Descript stock media and your media, your raw files, your raw images, your raw audio. Now that is just called files. So files is your, as the user's media, and then media is Descript's stock footage. So they're still separated by the same categories. You got stock video, Giphy GIFs, stock images, Giphy stickers, and then you can just hit show all to see any of those. There's music, which is actually should be audio in general, because there's a music setting or music category and then sound effects category. And once again, nothing's really changed there. You can just do a search function and then you can do show all. You can see what's inside of those. You can preview it by clicking this button, or you can add it to your project with the plus button. And then there's elements. So elements is a combination of what was previously text and shapes. So elements has, as we can see here at the top, we have static text, and there's like small, medium, large, basically. Then you have your shapes, and we have some new shapes now. We have a triangle and we have a star. Before we only had arrow, line, circle, and square. So star and triangle are new, as well as the fact that there's defaults for filled in and hollow. So that is new. And it's just a lot cleaner. Like you can just see at a preview exactly what that shape is going to look like. So I can just click on it and there it is. Let's see a hollow one. There's a hollow one. And let's see a star. So the star is just like a four corners. It's not like there's a dot on each corner. So it's kind of like a square in that sense. And then dynamic text is exactly what it sounds like. It's text that moves based on another element. So in the case of the timer, it'll move the clock up as your video is playing. In the case of title, that will be the title of the composition. So in this case, if I applied it, it would just say Friday Q&A, like so. Marker, if I had markers, then it would show that. And then it would change every time the marker in your video changes. And then speaker is if you have a podcast where the camera is changing between active speakers, then it would automatically change the title to show you who's currently speaking. Waveforms, no change there. There's line, lines, circle, rings, and wave. We had those options before. Progress bars, we have the bar, we have a spinner. Actually, what is the spinner? I'm not sure what that is. Okay. So we had that before. It was just called the circle, I think. But now they're calling it the spinner, and it's kind of hard to see because I got this other stuff in the way. Let me clear that out. So the spinner is a circle that fills in. And that's kind of cool if you're doing like a loading effect. And then there's a pie, which is the same thing but filled in. So you could create that by just changing the layout properties of the pie previously. And then annotations. So these, once again, was a category within templates that they've now spun off as a part of the elements section. And then overlays, same thing. That was part of templates. That is now part of elements. Frames, same thing. That was part of templates, and now it's part of elements. And I think it makes sense. It makes more sense to call templates layouts or presets, because that's more often what they're doing. They're affecting the layout properties of a layer. So I think it's a good change. Captions. There's a lot of different templates here, which is nice. They've added like different preset fonts, different preset behaviors, where you can see the one that I have my mouse on right now. It does a purple active word. And as before, I could change that. I could customize it after applying it by just clicking on it. And let's find the captions layout. Oh, and also check out the timeline. It looks different. Those are kind of round now, the things down here, the layers, and it just looks a lot cleaner. And you can change the size of the layers. So right now it's on default, but I can make it large. Oops, and that didn't even seem to do anything. It was working the other day where it makes them twice as thick. So it's just easier to see. And if you have a bunch of layers and you have a mouse wheel, you can scroll up and down through the layers. Before, you just had to mess around with this thing to be able to see all your layers, and it was pretty tedious. Okay, and feel free, I haven't said this yet, but feel free to drop questions in the chat as I go. We don't have to just talk about this, but in lieu of questions, I will just talk about what's new. This looks kind of cool. Oh, and when I changed the caption, it just updated it. So before it would have just stacked it. It would have added another caption layer, which makes more sense to just update it.
And have a purple active word.
You only need one at a time. And some of them are skewed. So like you got ones that are off of 0 degrees, some that are large with shadows added to it, some that have waveforms behind it, all sorts of different options there. And then aesthetically, there's just a couple of minor differences. Like you can see that the previous play and next button have light gray backgrounds behind them, make them pop out a little bit more. The playback speed here, you can go from 0.5x to 3x, no change there. Now this is different. Your jump to marker button is here. Before, it wouldn't appear until you added markers, and then it would appear up here next to the right button. But now it is right here next to your playback options. Range or timeline tools, no change there. You still have select, blade, range, slip, and hand. That is unchanged. Let me see if this will work now. Nope, still not. And then, yeah, other than that, it's just aesthetically, these are rounder, just a little cleaner looking. There is something interesting I noticed when I do a screen recording, it doesn't always put it into a sequence. So what was I making recently? Let me see if I can find it. You know what? I'm not gonna be able to find it. But yeah, I don't know if that's intentional. Let me try it right now. Let's do a quick recording. Testing. Okay, we're gonna see if the Descript recorder does multiple layers or if it makes this a sequence like it used to. And you can see it automatically expanded my captions and progress bar, all these layers to expand the whole thing. And it did make it a sequence. Oh, you know what? No, I didn't do a screen recording, that's why. So let me do a screen recording, because what the screen recording does is 3 separate layers. It does an audio layer coming from my microphone, it does a video layer coming from my webcam, and it does a screen recording layer in the case of a screen recording. Or I can also do a 4th layer, which would be audio from the computer by toggling on that. So let's just do this. All right, testing. Oops, and there's my Rode software. Minimize Descript for me. But checking out what's going to happen when I record into Descript. All right. Oh, and you can see it automatically, in this case, put it automatically into the script. It didn't give me an option to choose that. It just does it automatically based on what it thinks that I want it to do. Okay, so it did make it a sequence. So if I click on this, I can hit edit sequence. And here's our sequence. That looks the same as normal. As always, you can adjust the sync of these 2 layers. You can change the volume. You could move things around. Whatever you want to do, you can do that in the sequence. Okay. Aspect ratio, that has not changed. You still have the same options there. One thing I want to point out while I'm on the aspect ratio, something I've seen some people run into is they recorded something at 1080p, like usually from Squadcast, let's say. And then when they go to export it, it says they can only do 720p. What you need to do if that happens, like if you know your raw video is in higher than 720, you can manually, it should work automatically, but if it doesn't, then you can adjust here in the video settings. Like this is actually defaulting to 4K, which is too high. But you could bump this up. Like if somehow it got knocked down to 720p, you could bump it up to 1080p and you're good to go. So again, that's from the aspect ratio button right here and advanced. I'll just close that out. Okay, so let's go back to the layouts and let me make a couple scenes in here. All right, I like to put these on their own line. Just aesthetically looks a little cleaner, keeps things organized. So now I have scene 1, 2, and 3. And I'm gonna click on scene 1. I'm gonna do copy. And what this should do is copy the layout. And in this layout, let me do something unique to it. So let me add a element like a line. Click on it, and there it is. And when I record into Descript, and I can't see it, so I'm gonna change the layer order, bring to front. That's not the waveform. Why can't I see that? There it is. Okay, so Descript for me. It's there. It was just really hard to see because it's so small. So I'm gonna change the color on that. I'm gonna do properties, and let's see, it's currently white. Let's make it black, and let's make it a lot bigger. Okay, but so now that I have a unique property in scene 1, I'm gonna go back to layout. I'm gonna hit copy, and then I'm gonna go to another layout, like scene 2 here, and hit paste. And there it is, it copied my waveform. And everything else as well. Oh, and look at this. It made it large there. That's interesting. Let's try scene 3. If I go to default. Interesting. That might be a glitch. There's, for some reason, it's only making these placeholder layers larger, but it should be making all the layers twice as large. Okay, no worries. That's the idea though. And where this would be particularly useful is if you had an interview. So for example, if you had a scene where there's two people, you see them both on the camera, they're both reacting to something, they're laughing, whatever it might be, you could have a scene where it shows both of them, and then all the rest of the scenes are them individually. The active speaker is taking up the full frame. You could copy the layout from the scene with the reaction and paste it into every scene where they're both reacting. And that's a super, super simple way to do it. Now, the other thing is, I could take this thing right here and make a template out of it. Again, I gotta start shifting away from that language because it's now called layout. I can make a layout out of this. And the way I would do that is inside of a scene, in this case, scene 2, I could click Save Layout. And then I could select an existing template folder, or I could create a net new one by clicking Create New Template. And then, okay, so I think we've covered everything on there. The last, or the other major thing that I briefly mentioned is this bad boy right here, Underlord. And Underlord is your Ask AI functionality. So you have Edit for Clarity, which is, it'll use ChatGPT to read through your script and then edit out everything. This is like the catch-all tool. So remove filler words is very specific. It removes us, ums, like, you know, stuff like that. Edit for clarity. So that's a very specific tool. Edit for clarity is more general. It'll do that. And it'll also do shorten word gaps, remove retakes, which is where it looks for repeated sentences. Like maybe you're running your camera and you mess up a line. Without stopping your camera, you just say that line again. That is a retake, and that is what that is looking for. It's looking for, like I said, retakes in your script. So edit for clarity will do all of that. And before, when you clicked on any of these options, they were kind of generic prompts that were entered in there for the specific functionality. So edit for clarity said something like, it might have been this: remove filler words, digressions, blather, all the obvious cuts. And now you don't have the option to change that. It's already input in there by default. And then you can hit submit. It says Underlord is thinking. And actually that was really, really fast. That was faster than it used to be. That was like 2 seconds. And so it's a very short script. It only found a couple little things, and it crossed out the things that it thinks should be edited out. And I can say, applied edits to script, and it'll go ahead and make those changes. It ignores it in the transcript, and I can hit done if I'm done. So that's edit for clarity. Beneath that is studio sound. Everyone's familiar with studio sound. This is also found in the properties bar. And in fact, when I clicked on it, it took me to the properties section. And so with a layer with audio in it, you'll see studio sound under the audio effects. Nothing's changed there in terms of functionality that I'm aware of. It looks exactly the same. And if you go to the effect settings, the only thing you can do is dial it between 0 and 100% and then remove the effect. But that is found under Underlord or under properties. Remove filler word is going to find all these filler words. So, but you know, I guess, I mean, I suppose, kind of, like, or something, right? So sort of, well, you know, you know what I mean? You see, it's going to find all of those and repeated words. Or I could hone this list down. Like maybe I don't want to get rid of all the repeated words, or a lot of times lately I've been turning this off and only looking for ums and uhs, because those are the most clear, obvious filler words. I just used one. But other ones like right, or even the word like, I just said it properly, you know, using it like for example, then you might want to keep those in. Now, it depends on the speaker. If you know that's your crutch, if you say that word all the time, then obviously adjust accordingly and it'll find it. And then even then, you can search through each one individually. So it'll be a whole list over here on the right side under search results, and you can click through each one and listen to it in context to see if that's a good change. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes the filler word will be too close to the word after it, which will cause the word to get chopped. So you don't want that, obviously. And for that reason, I always recommend that instead of delete, you use the word ignore, or use the functionality to ignore. Delete will remove it from your video and your transcript so that you can't see that it was there. Ignore is what you see is already done on this transcript, where it's crossed out and grayed out. So it remains on the transcript to let me know that something happened there, that I removed that word, but it's gone from the video. So when I export this thing, that filler word will be gone. Now, the advantage is if I'm listening to this, I'm making my final edits and I'm like, okay, let's see how the filler words came out. I can hover over the words that were ignored, and I can simply click that back arrow, that undo arrow. And this is obviously a glitch in the software as well. Look at how high that arrow is appearing up there. It should be right above the word that's ignored, but it's appearing over there. And I can delete it, which will remove it like that. So it was already gone from the video, but now it's gone from the transcript. I'm gonna hit undo, hover over it again. And if I do restore, it gets rid of that ignore. So that word is now back in black on my transcript, and it's back in my video. So that is why I recommend ignoring, because it allows you to just maintain situational awareness. And yeah, if you're making like a really long interview or something, I know a lot of podcasts that will release an hour-long podcast, and they'll do a 3-hour interview to get to that hour or 40 minutes of content. And so you might have, depending on your workflow and your level of editing, you might have more stricken out than you end up publishing. And so that's why it's very convenient. And then you can always search through your content. So you could come up here. Oh, and by the way, quick actions is right here now. So quick actions was also previously got you most of what's in Underlord now. But where is, I'm looking for, I could type in here, find all instances of, and then I could search for something. You can see here it says search for, or I could just type in the word. I could say for example, search for in Friday Q&A, which is the name of my composition here. So that's how you can do a search through your project. And obviously the more content you have, the more useful that could be. Jump to, that's if you have multiple compositions or markers, then you'll have different options there. You can ask the Underlord to summarize. So you could say like, you could give an example maybe of your writing style or the tone of your brand. And then custom instructions, like this is for YouTube, this is for TikTok, whatever the final destination is. And then you hit submit, and it's going to tell you script involves testing the OPES software. I'm not sure what I said there, but it got mistranscribed for sure. Okay, so that's Underlord. Very cool. And shorten word gaps is a very, very core feature of Descript. It looks for any moments that you specify in seconds and finds moments where it's not talking. So like 1 second of no talking, you could look for. It would find all those instances, and the same as with filler words, like if I click on it, it's looking for 3 seconds or more of silence. And then if it finds any, it would shorten it to 1 second. That's what this layer here is. Then there is add chapters. So this is super cool. This is my favorite, probably the feature I use the most from Underlord. And what this does, again, this used to be a prompt, and now they've made it a little bit more straightforward. It's like, it just has one function. So it just asks you, how many chapters do you want? And you can just say auto, which is fine. Or you could type in a number there. So I could say like 3 chapters, or if I delete it, let's see if it reverts back to auto. Yeah. And so that's fine. Auto's fine. It's only a 20-second long video with no real topics. And it made 3 chapters. So I can hit done to just close out of it, or let me go back to that, auto, submit. And it came up with 3 chapters again. And I'll hit add to script. And there they are. They're markers inside of Descript. And now if I use this thing, the little markers navigation, it'll jump me up to the name of the composition, or below that, the first marker, introduction to captions, or testing OPS, or exploring Descript recording, like so. And then I don't know what this follow-up thing is. Okay, so this is to continue prompting it. We didn't have this before. That's very cool. So let's do that. We could say, give me more markers. And then let's see if it didn't work because it's so short. But presumably, if you wanted more markers, you could just keep having a conversation with it, just like ChatGPT, where you keep refining your prompt until you narrow in on the result that you want. That is what you can now do. That's very cool. I did not see that in my initial tests yesterday. Eye contact, they still say eye contact is in beta, so I don't expect much change there. If I go to properties, I go down to effects and eye contact. You can see it still has that beta bubble around it, and it says beta feature may take a while to process. So I'm not sure what's left in terms of development on that. Maybe they're just not happy with the results of it yet, but that is quote unquote in beta still. Underlord, back to Underlord. Oh, DALL-E. So let's see if this will work. I tried this the other day and it crashed my computer, crashed Descript rather. Hand-drawn picture of a dog. That was the prompt I tried to use. Let's see what it comes up with. They did do a patch update since the initial release of this. They came out with version 90, and then the next day there was version 90.0.1, which, you know, they usually fix little things like this as they get reported. Ah, yeah, look at that. It crashed it. So stay away from the DALL-E thing. Your results may vary, but that's 2 out of 2. It's crashed my computer. There's a button called automatic multicam. So that's a really good change too, because it used to be called active speaker. And the way you would find it is by finding your layers and then selecting active speaker when it prompted you to which speaker do you want to show. So I think that's a lot more intuitive to just find it right here. Active multicam, and then generate an image. As we saw, that's, well, as we were supposed to see, that's DALL-E. It wasn't working. Create clips. So that'll, very cool. So they've refined this as well. You can do Underlord picks your most viral worthy moments and creates clips that pop. Oh, this is very cool. I didn't see this the other day. So you can choose the number of clips, how long you want them to be, and then you can choose from these pre-made settings. Oh, that's a nice effect right there. I like that. So then it would just apply these templates essentially over your video. And it would automatically extract a certain portion of your video to turn into this. And you got 4 camera stuff here. You got 3 camera stuff, 2 camera, single camera. And these look nice. That thing right there, I like that. And then you could describe a topic. So you could say like, pick something that is a standalone story or something that would be interesting to a viewer with a short attention span, something like that. So that's super cool. I'm a fan of that a lot. And then create highlight reel. So same thing here. You got these different templates. Those are the same ones we just saw. And I'm assuming it says create a new composition with all your best moments. And you can toggle on whether or not to use that template. And you can bring in your own templates with that button next to it. Super, super cool. Find highlights, number of highlights. Yes. And then here's some more general publishing type of stuff. Draft a title. So draft a title to match length and tone. You can have it draft a blog post out of it, draft a social post. And then the bottom stuff is mostly for ideation, like brainstorming topics, writing a script, writing an outline, and rewrite. I did an entire video where I made a video completely from scratch using AI. I had it come up with an idea. I had it write an outline. I had it write a script for that outline. And then I used AI voices to narrate the entire thing, and then used AI or Descript's footage to add the visual component to the whole video. Okay. So yeah, that is Underlord. And I assume we could still do a completely custom prompt here. So where it says, what do you want to do? You could type anything else in here, anything that's not already covered. You could, if you don't want YouTube specifically, you could say, write a caption for TikTok, whatever you want, and it'll help you do that. So any questions in the chat? I don't see anything yet, but please feel free to drop them in as they come up. Otherwise, I guess I could just keep talking about what's new. In the comments section, it's now over here instead of at the top. And this functionality has not changed. You can still highlight a certain portion and then just say add a comment, and it'll go ahead and add that comment there. And then any collaborators, any editors you have in this project with you will see those comments and can mark them resolved. A lot of people, I'm always surprised how many people don't know about this functionality. It's super useful, especially if you're working with a team of editors. Properties, we have, hey Carl. Yeah, it's been mostly stable. The one crash that has happened was, it just happened to me a few minutes ago with the, what was it? Where did they put it? And it's in the Underlord, generate an image. So the DALL-E thing, this happened in the video a couple days ago too, and it just crashed Descript for me. But other than that, it's been fine. There's been a couple weird things, like, let's see if it'll do it right now. If I hover over a ignored word, yeah, it puts the menu like way up here. And let's see if it'll, yeah, it's like up here for some reason instead of like right above the words. So that's just little details like that of course haven't been ironed out. But overall, I think it's an improvement. I was going through some of these and I found some things I hadn't seen before. Like, I don't know if you've ever used the create clips, but now you can have it. Yeah. Find the bug fix is good. That's, yeah. But the create clips thing now, you can just choose the number of clips you want to make and then how long they are. And then there's templates, or you can bring in your own templates right here and it'll automatically create that. I didn't test it yet, but I found that really cool, at least in theory. Maybe I should test it right now. Let's see if it works. Let me do this one with an interview. And then of course the layout's different, like title or project and composition are at the top now. Okay, so let me try that template thing. And this is still loading, so it's just black, but it'll come in a minute. Number of clips. Actually, let me do it on the whole project, on the long form one. And then create clips. And I found a style I like, this one here. And so I'm looking for 5 clips, 30 seconds each. Topic, I'll just say anything interesting, stories, or good points. I don't know. I'll hit submit. Underlord is thinking. And let's see here. It was super quick earlier with the thing I tried, but it's probably got to do a lot more processing. Large project notification. Consider splitting into multiple projects if you experience performance issues. Okay, so because it's such a long project, that makes sense why the first one was so quick, because it was I was on a 22-second project. Now I'm on a 48-minute project. So naturally, it's going to require a lot more processing. But let's let this play out, see what happens here. All right. And it came up with 5 different things. And you can see the seconds there, and it put a little star. I think that's it rating how good it think it did. And it automatically made like a folder of clips, and then it put each one into a new composition. I like that. That's cool. And it still hasn't loaded the video, so let's give it a moment here. But that's very, very, very convenient. I could totally see this saving people a lot of time. And then you have the 5 different ones here, so I can just, if I click on it, it takes me to the next thing. And I think the stars is just telling you how good it thinks it did. And you can just quickly change the layout there. you could scrap it with that button or discard all of them right there, or hit done, and that'll just lock it in. But yeah, that rating system, I think, was the probability that it thinks it found a good one. And those were all 4 stars. So it's saying that, with 80% probability or so, it thinks it did a good job. And so let's just play through some of these. Nope, we still don't have video yet. I'm gonna keep letting that load. But yeah, that's very cool, especially if it does a good job. We'll see in a moment here. And it automatically ignored stuff before and after, which is really handy as well for the context of the story that's being, the clip that was created. So let's see how this looks. It's still loading. It says no data, the stream is ended. I don't know if we're, okay, there we go. I think we're back. It's still loading. Okay. Very good. It says no data, the stream is ended. Okay, sorry. I think we're good. Something happened with the stream software there. And we have our video now. So it looks like this, which is cool. I like the, it added a little like opaque thing at the bottom. And then I like the style of the fonts there. Let's see what that is. Captions, properties, that is play fair, display regular 120.
People were looking for help on deals. And when the bank reorganized and I was offered a package, I thought,
it looks a little dark and hazy over the, let's see. No, it's not that. The gradient there. Yeah. That's a little dark. I would have to move him up, I think, in the frame. Like, let me go to properties, layout, slide him up a bit. Could do something like that, and then that exposes the name tag in the bottom left, but that's kind of covered up as well. So let me move go to text and then bring that to the front. And I use the hotkey bracket, open to the right, open to the left, to quickly bring that to the front.
And I was offered a package.
Cool. So again, that was created by AI with a little bit of tweaking, but I think it did a pretty good job, and that's going to be a strong selling point for this new version of Descript. And again, that was the create clips functionality. It just automatically extracted this portion of the video and then turned it into this layout. And you could do your own layout with this button right here. And the thing I really like about it is how it organized it. It added it to this folder, and then it made 5 separate compositions for each of those clips. And then I could go to publish, and not a whole lot new with the publish section that I've found, but I could still do export. I could do just the current composition, or I could do all compositions, and that would export all 5 of those clips at one time. And then I could pop those onto YouTube to schedule for release over the course of a week or whatever. And yeah, as far as the publish, like I said, you still have the same options, publish to YouTube and then all the other third-party platforms. The biggest change is just aesthetic. It's just black instead of blue. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. So any questions? Otherwise, I might have to wrap up a bit early if I don't get any questions. I think I've gone through everything that I can on this new version of Descript. And I'll take this moment, in lack of any questions, to pitch what I do, which is I teach people Descript. This is my website, descriptmastery.com. And I have a course. I have tutoring. So people book one-on-one calls with me, and I help you through whatever you're stuck on in the software, or maybe you're brand new and you're just starting from scratch. Or maybe you want me to look at your workflow and say, is there something I could be doing faster? Is there something I could be doing better? Then I'm happy to take a look and help you with that. Then I have templates. I have free templates available for download, as well as I can create custom ones. So if you want a template like YouTube intro or outro for your YouTube channel, I've made tons of those. I've made course templates where there's like, a certain style of video for the module, certain style of video for each lesson, certain style of video for, introducing topics, that type of thing. I can do that. And you just simply fill out this form on the webpage and you'll be able to order your templates. I do editing by the hour, and I have a YouTube consulting package, YouTube launch package. The idea with this is if you're creating a brand new YouTube channel, I can help you through a series of calls over the course of a month and help you come up with strategy, branding, ideation, and finding content gaps within your niche so that you create the best videos for your niche. That's it. And then I have a brand new resource, which is a Descript tutor bot made with ChatGPT 4. If you click on that, it'll take you there. It's free if you're a member of ChatGPT. It's created with ChatGPT 4.0. And of course, the YouTube channel that you're on right now, I do live streams like this every Friday at the same time. I have a blog, post a couple articles every single week, walking through different things, updates, stuff like that. And recommended tools, microphones I recommend, cameras, different tools I use in running Descript Mastery. And then, if you need to contact me, there's a contact button there, as well as this chat bubble goes straight to my phone. Feel free to send me a message if you have any questions, and I'll get you helped out. So whatever your issues are with Descript, let me know, and I will take care of you. And I see a couple people joined on the live stream in different chats, or in different places. If you have anything, last call, drop it in the chat. Otherwise, I've already gone over all of the new stuff in the software. But happy to keep this going and answer any last minute questions if you have them. Anything at all. In different chats, or in different places. If you have anything, last call, drop it in the chat. All right, got nothing. So thank you for joining, and talk to you soon.